Supergirl is shaping up to be one of the biggest box office disasters of the year. After earning less than $100 million worldwide during its first week, the film is already facing an uphill battle, with a reported production budget of around $170 million plus millions spent on marketing, and the fact that studios only receive a share of every ticket sold. The break-even point is estimated to be well over $400 million. At its current pace, it's looking like the film could lose hundreds of millions of dollars over its box office run. So what went wrong? The biggest reason for Supergirl's poor box office performance is also the simplest. I didn't think that it was a good film, and a lot of people would agree with that. The cast gave solid performances, I don't have any complaints there, and the visual effects were impressive, but those strengths aren't enough to make up for all of the problems. The story is weak and flawed, the villain lacked both personality and screen presence, never feeling like a genuine threat, while Lobo, one of the film's biggest marketing draws, was surprisingly underpowered and given very little to do. The film also struggled with Kara herself. Because she's naturally such a powerful character, the script repeatedly finds ways to weaken her just to manufacture tension, making many of the action scenes and dramatic moments feel forced rather than earned. Instead of letting the stakes develop naturally, the story often relies on artificial obstacles to keep the plot moving. I break these issues down in much more detail in my full review, but it's easy to see why the film received mixed reviews from critics and audiences alike. Once word of mouth turned negative, many potential moviegoers simply decided it wasn't worth the price of a cinema ticket, especially with it likely to be on a streaming platform in a few months' time. I saw Supergirl on opening day, and I wouldn't recommend it. General superhero fatigue is another issue. After over a decade of constant film releases, gone are the golden days of cinematic films that would consistently pull in hundreds of millions of dollars. The Marvels, The Eternals, Blue Beetle, Madam Web, Shazam, Captain America, Brave New World, and Fantastic Four: First Steps all underperformed. This is partly because the genre has been oversaturated, but it's also because many recent films haven't been very good, with a noticeable drop in quality. Combine that with streaming habits, where many people are less inclined to pay for a film that will be on a streaming platform in a few months' time, and you have a genre that now struggles to bring in the kind of money that it once did. Another factor was the character of Supergirl herself. While she's well known among comic book fans and many people who grew up watching the cartoons, she doesn't have the same mainstream recognition or box office drawing power as characters like Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. This isn't as big of an issue as my previous 2 points, but it is a contributing factor. A lesser-known character can still become a huge success if the film is good. Just look at the Iron Man film. Iron Man was nowhere near as popular with the general public as characters such as Spider-Man, the X-Men, or the Fantastic Four, but because the film was really good, audiences embraced the character and he became one of Marvel's biggest stars. Supergirl simply didn't have that advantage. When a film receives mixed reviews and poor word of mouth, having a less established lead character makes it much harder to convince casual audiences to buy a ticket. The final factor that I want to cover is the pre-release controversy. Part of the issue is various comments made by Millie Alcock during various promotional interviews, such as Kara would probably go both ways, and modern interpretations of gender ideology. This ties into the wider political culture war that has been raging for the last decade, with the comments talked about by both media news outlets and YouTube channels. How much of an effect this had on the film is impossible to quantify, but it would have done some damage, distracting from the film's marketing push and helping to generate a negative perception of the film before it had even been released. Ultimately, there wasn't a single reason Supergirl failed at the box office, but rather a combination of multiple problems that all worked against it. The film received mixed reviews and generated weak word of mouth. It arrived at a time when audiences have become far more selective about superhero movies. It was built around a character without the same mainstream drawing power as DC's biggest icons, and it became caught up in pre-release controversy before it even reached cinemas. Any one of those issues might have been survivable on its own, but together they created the perfect storm. For a film that needs over $400 million just to break even and has so far brought in less than $100 million, this film is set to be a massive financial failure.